old man. Oh, hello there. Thank you for joining us once again for this, the 112th
episode of Drunk Doctor Who,
wherein we discuss the 112th
story. Yeah, story, because they're going to eventually not be serials, but just episodes.
Of Doctor Who.
Full circle.
Full circle.
Alright. Today is the 20th of February, 2023. Tomorrow's Mardi Gras. Mardi Gras. Fat Tuesday.
Get your beads.
Or Shrove Tuesday in certain circles. Alright. This was 4 episodes. Aired from October 25th, 1980 to November 15th, 1980. Part of the 18th season of Doctor Who, the final season of Tom Baker. Here's the DVD cover. Ooh, but it's out on Blu-ray, so you watch it on Blu-ray, but here's the DVD. Alright, what are you drinking today? Oh, by the way, I'm Hatter. This is Holden. Hello, if you don't know us by now, welcome.
Today I'm drinking White Claw.
White Claw.
Seltzer. Hard seltzer.
Hard seltzer.
Yeah.
Low octane.
I've been drinking beers and it's like liquid bread. And just,
Alright.
I had a big dinner.
I'm drinking Tito's.
Tito's.
Texas vodka. Because I can't get Russian standard anymore because nothing's coming out of Russia these days. But Tito's is a close second. Very close second.
I like Tito's.
Alright, me too. Cheers. Cheers. Alright, Doctor Who. Okay.
There wasn't really like a straightforward antagonist for this episode. I just wrote
That's actually kind of fitting. But, okay. There are antagonists, but they're not antagonists, but they are, but they aren't. And
like the swamp people, I get misunderstood antagonist.
Okay, so our companions, Romana and K9.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want full disclosure?
Are we about to lose our companions, Romana
And Adric.
and oh, I see. He's
stowed away in the TARDIS.
Like,
he's a new companion.
I was gonna. Adric's a new companion.
Adric's a new companion.
I was good. That was a question.
That was a question. Adric's a new companion.
I never saw him exit after he left.
Mm-hmm. After he left them the image stabilizer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Adric's a new companion. We have a new companion. First one in a while, actually.
Very young companion.
Yes. Waterhouse, the actor who played Adric, was, I think, 19 or 20. I believe 20, maybe 19.
But how old is his character canonically?
His character looks about 14. He's really young. It's the same scenario as Susan. Mm-hmm. The actress who played Susan was 20. But she looked like 14, 15, maybe 16.
I mean, that's what they do in most high school age cinemas because, filming with minors, you have all these extra rules. So they'll just
they find an adult who looks
like
young enough. Anyway, so I believe she might have been 20, maybe 21, and she looked young, and they put her in that role. He was like 19 or 20, 1 year below her, and he is the youngest actor to play a companion for the longest time.
To date?
Technically, yes.
Oh, yeah?
Technically, yes. Because the new Doctor's... the 16th Doctor hasn't had anything here yet.
Mm-hmm.
But his companion, Ruby Sunday, the actress is like 18. She's like 1 year younger than the actor for Adric. So he was like 1 year younger than Susan, the actress who played Susan. And Ruby Sunday is 1 year younger than he was. So I believe it was 20, 19, and 18. And she's really young.
You've never had like a minor as a mainstay on the show?
No, not yet.
Like in the TV movie?
People who were playing minors, but they weren't minors themselves.
Yeah.
No, minors have guest starred in the show, but not been like companions.
Right. Like in the movies, they had.
The little girl who played Susan. Yeah, Foreman or Susan Who, because he was Doctor Who.
I just assume that's because of like child labor laws get complicated when filming
True,
on set.
although adulthood is like 16 in the UK, so you can go down a little further. But then again, you probably want the best actor or actress for the job, and you want somebody usually with a little more experience. But he was one of the youngest, and they're coming in with a new crew with Shutai. Well, once the 14th Doctor Tennant is done.
Right. So he's just filming a few specials, right? He's not doing
the 3 specials. He's not doing the whole series. He's doing the 3 specials. Then Shutai Gatwa for the 60th. Then Shutai Gatwa is coming in for series 14. He's relatively young for the Doctor, not the youngest.
He's a younger Doctor. Yeah.
Right, but not the youngest. Not the youngest. Matt Smith.
Tennant?
That's Tennant. That's Smith. Smith was younger. Davison was younger. He was younger. Shutai Gatwa is going to be one of the younger ones, but not the youngest. But his companion will be the youngest actress to play a companion. Actor or actress.
Ruby Sunday.
Ruby Sunday,
It's a
yeah.
weird name.
It's kind of a play on Ruby Tuesday.
Oh.
The Stones song.
Oh, I thought it was like an ice cream sundae.
Russell T Davies is a big fan of the Rolling Stones. And we don't know, the Stones song,
yeah.
We don't know if this is a take directly on the Rolling Stones song. There is speculation, and I hope this is not true. I hope it is not true by a long shot. There's speculation in the Whovian community that she is the daughter of Kate Stewart.
The last name's Sunday.
Okay.
Do I know Kate Stewart? I haven't met her yet.
You have not met Kate Stewart, but you know her father, the Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart.
Oh.
So Kate Stewart is the one character that started in the third-party stuff,
So this is like
and then worked her way into the main stuff.
really.
She is now the head of unit in the modern stuff, and we meet the Brigadier's father. We've met his daughter, and if this is his granddaughter, I would dislike it because it's a continuation of all men must be replaced by women, which I don't want. But I also hate dynastical things to continue. Like, I hate dynastical politics.
Yeah.
If this guy was president, I don't like his son being president necessarily. If he's there on his own merits, fine. But if this guy was a senator and he dies, don't make his wife senator. Fetterman. Same thing for Dole. It happens on both sides. Mostly Democratic, but Dole was a Republican. Just Bob Dole passed away, and his wife Elizabeth Dole was made the senator. It's like, I do not care for dynastical politics, and I'm not a fan of it through the show.
Right. Yeah. Not in government, but like in TV shows, it's kind of neat that we have like 3 generations of Brigadier.
Well, so far we may have a 4th, but it's, once again, have a son once in a while. Nobody has sons anymore. Everyone only has daughters, and that bugs me. Every single male character eventually being replaced by a female,
I mean, it's not always a choice.
Okay, so...
I knew this guy, he tried to get a son. He had 4 daughters in a row. He's like, I'm throwing in the towel.
I'm done, man.
I hear if you do it at dusk, it's boy, and at dawn, girls are conceived, right? Or vertically versus horizontal.
We're getting old wives' tales here.
But it's not always a choice.
They're not always wrong. Right. Anyway, so back to the topic. So he's one of the youngest actors to play a companion, and he plays a very young companion. In fact, I think his character, with the possible exception of Susan, the character may be the youngest. Ruby Sunday's character is obviously an adult, or an adult at least in Britain, 16 or higher. Whereas he doesn't look like that, and Susan didn't really look like that.
He looks like 14.
Yeah, he looks young.
But I like Audrey. He has this just awful Prince haircut.
He's got a very 70s haircut. My wife remarked that this looks like a 70s kids television show. Because Adric looks like the kid from HR Puffin stuff. And I remarked that the his older brother
Mm-hmm.
looks like the lead singer from the Monkees.
The Monkees, yeah. It felt very what's the word? Young protagonist, Gilligan Island. Like they're these rebellious kids. It felt very sitcom-y kind of.
Yeah, young adult fiction stuff. Yeah. All right. So anyway,
Treasure Island kind of.
Treasure Island.
They live in this cave.
Lord of the Flies.
Yeah. Not. A little bit more wholesome.
Well, that's a good book. Short book, but good book.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever read it all the way through. I kept falling asleep. I'll listen to it on audiobook. That's what I usually do when I can't read a book.
What? It's a short book, like this big.
Right. I was camping and sleeping.
Conch shell, piggy, glasses.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright, anyway. Wait, were you able to read Fahrenheit 451?
I haven't read that one yet.
Slaughterhouse 5?
No. Is that like Animal Farm?
No, different author. Well, same type of basic dystopia.
Yeah.
Well, yes, Slaughterhouse 5 is a lot more than that. Fahrenheit 451 is basic dystopia. Slaughterhouse 5 by Kurt Vonnegut Jr. is all sorts of levels of amazing and weird.
In terms of dystopian, I've read a smaller Ayn Rand book. I forget what it's called. 1984, and it's not Atlas Shrugged. It's Anthem. What was it?
Anthem.
Yeah,
Anthem.
that was a good one.
The Fountainhead is the next step, and then Atlas Shrugged is the magnum opus.
Yeah, no, I haven't read those two.
Okay, Anthem is very short, like
That's-
90 pages.
That's why it's one that I've read.
Okay. You should read We.
We.
W-E.
Huh.
It's from it's Russian fiction written in the brief aftermath of the Russian Revolution when they still allowed some freedom of expression, like 1920, 1919. And yeah, very short, very to the point, very dystopian socialist fiction.
What's that one Charlie Chaplin movie that they made of a book? Where have you seen that movie? Charlie Chaplin's working in this dystopian factory and he gets clogged up in the...
Modern Times.
Isn't that based off of a book?
I don't think so, but there was a lot of that going around at the time, so it might have been. Metropolis. There's a lot of dystopian stuff.
Soylent Green. I've seen that.
Right. There's a lot of dystopian stuff that stems from the early 20th century, and it was refined in the later 20th century, mostly the first half of the later 20th century. And now we're living it.
Speaking of which, this serial was pretty dystopian-esque.
Yes, and straightforward. Okay, so, alright.
Episode 1. Go ahead.
Some big plot holes and some big questions.
I have some questions.
All right. So, questions at the end or questions at the end of each episode?
End of each episode we do.
Okay. So, episode 1, the Doctor is trying to repair the TARDIS.
Mm-hmm.
Does it? And he says, K9, okay, fly to these coordinates because they received. Okay, apparently they just dropped off Cactus Dude Human.
Yeah.
From Megalos.
Yeah.
Just dropped him off back on Earth.
We didn't get to see that part.
It's kind of glossed over. And he's like, okay, we received a distress call from Gallifrey. We have to go back to Gallifrey.
It's, Romano is very distressed.
Yeah, they apparently were... She thinks they were calling her back.
Yeah, because she was only assigned to the Doctor for the Kia time stuff, so she thinks that's the end of her.
And she stayed an extra season or so, and now a season and a half, and she doesn't want to go back because she's seen the universe and she doesn't want to go back to boring old Gallifrey.
Yeah, she likes the adventures.
Yeah. So she's despondent about that, and she goes to her room, which later on becomes someone else's room.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But she goes to a room, and the TARDIS has a bunch of rooms, which we already saw, the myriad of levels of the TARDIS in Invasion of Time. So anyway, she goes to a room, she's despondent, and the doctor's like, well, you gotta go. We can't fight the Time Lord. She said, well, you once did. And he said, yeah, and I lost. And that's when they forced him to regenerate from the second to the third Doctor.
But now he's the president of Gallifrey.
So technically, he still is, yes.
You would think he had some sway over her.
That comes back later.
Okay. I'm waiting for it.
Alright, the next Doctor, the fifth Doctor, which we'll get to soon, it comes back during that. And later on, celery guy. And later on, he becomes president of Earth.
Of Earth?
Of Earth.
I don't remember that.
No. Much, much later.
Oh, in the future.
In the future.
Oh.
The future. Alright. Anyway.
President of Earth. He wasn't even born on Earth.
Correct. Alright. Anyway, so...
disqualified person.
No.
No?
Apparently not. So, he tells K9 to put in these coordinates, and they're binary, and 10, 11, yada, 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 binary, 02, which doesn't quite fit with binary, and K9 puts them in, and then Romana says, and then...
Old decimal binary system.
Yeah, it's like, what? And then Romana's like, okay, we're going to that.
Quantum computers.
Yeah, and so K9's watching the ship flying there, and there's some sort of problem. And K9's like, does not compute, and there's this, movement on the TARDIS. And the Doctor and Romana run in. They were off in Romana's room discussing having to fight the Time Lords. And it turns out they went through some sort of weird wormhole.
Yes, very rare space-time event.
Right. And this wormhole took them in, basically, we don't know yet, but into E-space. Exospace.
So they're now in negative coordinates.
Right, and
so they punch in the coordinates instead of taking it to the coordinate in space. It's negative that in exospace. So they're outside of their normal...
Because it went through the weird wormhole.
Yeah.
And everything's still reading and showing that space, because it doesn't understand negative coordinates, because they're in the E-space with the negative coordinates.
You ever watch, what is it called, Office Space?
Yeah.
Yeah, where his job is recoding their entire system because to save time they put 2 digits for the date instead of 4, and they're doing the 2000s.
Y2K, yeah.
Yes, like 99. So they had to reprogram those last 2 digits on every single date in the day.
Yeah. Funny movie.
So you'd think that it would have negative coordinates.
My stapler. You took my stapler.
Stapler bringing up his name.
Oh my god.
That would be great.
Okay, so anyway, they end up in E-space, and the Doctor opens up the scanner, and he sees Gallifrey.
You ever watch Scanner Darkly?
Through a Scanner Darkly. Well, the movie is Scanner Darkly.
Right.
The book is Through a Scanner Darkly. Read the book, seen the movie. Both are good.
I watched the first few minutes of it. I got creeped out. It was late at night.
Okay.
It's all weirdly. So they animated over a live action recording.
Right, in live action, they animated over it, and there's some a little bit of stop motion there, and it has Keanu Reeves, Robert Downey Jr. And Harrison. Will Harrison? No, not Will Harrison.
I didn't. Oh,
from Natural Born Killers.
Yeah. Woody Harrelson.
Woody Harrelson, yeah.
And
it's a freaky movie.
Yeah, I just barely got past the bug scene. I was like, maybe I'll watch this.
Not either.
Not at nighttime. It was creepy. What were we talking about?
Good movie though.
Oh, so the scanner.
So they do the scanner, and it looks like Gallifrey. The Doctor goes out, and it's not Gallifrey because Gallifrey's red and this is green. And he's like, and the Doctor was talking about seeing Romana and her husband Andrew or Andric or whatever.
What? Romana has a husband?
Not Romana, sorry.
Leela. Oh, Leela. Yeah. They're talking about
Leela, and he's talking about seeing them and stuff.
Her significant other. We're assuming they got married.
Yeah.
We don't know where on the timeline they're.
So the doctor runs out, and it's not Gallifrey. It's green. It's lush. Like, doctors are like, So they go in, they look at that, they go, doesn't work. Go out, look at that, go, okay. In the meantime, we see some indigenous people, some people who are native to the planet, and they're swimming in a lake. They are gathering river fruit, which are basically watermelons and other melons. And you
spider eggs?
Well, they will be eventually. And you see this group of young kids, ages about 14 to 16, 4 boys and a girl. They're kind of like the Lost Boys from Peter Pan. Anyway, they try to steal some of the water fruit because apparently they're hungry. These are the outliers. These kids have decided to leave society, go live on their own, but they still have to rather than produce their own food or farm their own food, they're still leeching off society.
Right.
Which I found funny.
They just came out of a 10-year internment from the Starliner, which... No? Oh. I thought this way. Because they didn't believe in the what is it called? The Mistfall? Which is why...
The Mistfall happens every 50 years.
Right.
And then they're interned for like 10 years, and they've got like 40 years outside.
Yes.
They have to go back in for 10 years.
Yes. So they're just coming out of a 10-year internment?
No. Because the vast majority of these people don't know what Mistfall or internment is.
Right, they don't believe it's real.
Right. So they're not coming out.
They're trying to avoid the 10-year internment.
Yeah, because they don't believe it's true. But anyway, so essentially, in the episode, the lake starts bubbling with dry ice, bubble and mist, and in the meantime, some deciders. Apparently, there's 3 deciders: the first, second, and third decider. The first decider is the one who gets to know all the knowledge of the
Keeper of the Files.
No, the what's it called? Something Files.
X-Files?
No. It's a computer term. Not the program files, you didn't write that down?
I just have Keeper of the Files.
Okay.
There's specific kind of files?
Yeah, very specific to like a computer term.
Yeah.
For the 70s or 80s.
They have like a database.
Yeah.
For their Starliner that covers every inch of the Starliner, how to take it apart completely and reassemble it.
And there are some files that only the first decider gets to see.
Yes.
So, what's the first decider's name at this point?
At this point, it was Draith. So, anyway, these kids try to steal some fruit. They fail. They get run off by some of the older guys. They go back to their cave. Adric shows up at their cave. It's very difficult to run through a forest with a watermelon.
Fruit, yeah. Or larger melon.
You think they'd have a sack or something?
Yeah. So Adric shows up, and Adric is this. He looks 14. The actor's 20, but he looks 14 or 19.
Prince
little. Was it Prince Valiant?
Yeah.
The haircut, yeah. And he's got most of them have these yellow cloth shirts.
A lot of yellow, yeah.
Yeah. These outers have brown, and Adric has this kind of brown orange.
Yeah, and a little star.
And he's got
put on his pocket.
He's got a badge and a star, and the star was for excellence in mathematics. Turns out Adric is a mathematical genius.
Really?
Fantastic mathematical genius. He can do stuff faster almost than TARDIS.
So faster than the, what was that previous companion we had?
Zoe.
Zoe
was the other one.
Do you think he's better at math than Zoe?
From what he shows, yes, actually.
Because she wasn't faster than the TARDIS, per se. He was good.
Andrew is insane.
Oh.
He is quote-unquote a mathematical genius.
Fascinating.
Anyway, so Adric, he's like,
he's an elite because he has that star. And these other outliers or outers don't want to accept him, but the leader of them is his older brother. What's his name?
No, not Varsh.
No, I think it's Varsh.
Was it Varsh?
No, Varsh is the one that got killed.
Varsh was the one that doesn't wear buttons.
Yeah.
I think they both died.
They did. They did both die.
Tylos.
Talos.
Tylos was
Okay.
his brother.
So Talos is his older brother, and has you leader of the Outers. And
So they rebelled from the Society and the Starliner and the Deciders, and you feel like they don't really trust Adric, or they want to push him to the side because
he's an elite.
Yeah, it felt like he was being bred to become another Decider, and so they're like, "You're not in charge.
Not
you're
maybe
not
a decider, but at least like a scientist
a
or something.
higher up or something." So they're like, "You're not a rebel." Like they're accusing them of
not just a maintenance guy.
They're accusing them of favoritism, but with family. What do you call that?
Nepotism.
Nepotism.
All right, so Adric's trying to get into this group, and he's like, "I've got my star." The girl tries to take his star, but Adric defends himself and puts the girl in a bit of a lock. The others rescue the girl, and what's her name?
Her name was Kiara.
And Adric's very spunky and is very spry, and he wants in. And they ask him, "Where do you see yourself when the starlight takes off?" And he says, "Well, not on it." And they're like, "Okay, here." He says, "No, not here. I don't understand." And he shows a little bit of prescience here. Because he understands he's going to be not on the planet, but not on the Starliner. But how the heck could he know that?
Yeah, I didn't catch that part.
Well, no, literally they ask him, "So you're going to be on the Starliner?" He's
Yeah,
like,
he
"No."
wanted to
"So you're going to be
leave.
here?" He says, "No.
Yeah.
I don't know where I'm going to be, and I can't explain it, but I'm going to be." And he ends up on the TARDIS. Because he shows prescience in that, which is an ability, an amazing ability.
Call of Destiny.
Prescience.
Yeah.
Alright.
Destiny's calling. You can't ignore it.
So, one of the kids, Tylon, challenges Adric. Tylos?
No, Tylos was the brother, I think it was Varsh.
Varsh, yeah.
Or Kiara that we're teasing him about.
No, Varsh says, "Okay, if you want to get into this group, you've got your badge, we have our badge, and you earn this, and it's a loop of rope with some beads on it. You earn this."
By stealing fruit.
Yeah, apparently. So he challenges Adric to steal fruit. Adric says, "Sure, I'll do it."
No problem.
So they go down to the river, and Adric tries to steal fruit. And down there, the first decider, Drath, says, he looks at the water and he says, "This is Mistfall. Everybody, back to the Starliner. We have 2 hours. 2 hours. Follow the protocols."
Bubbling.
Yeah. And so he goes, and Adric tries to see the fruit, and he notices Adric, and Adric runs away. And Decider Drath runs after Adric, apparently trying to save Adric, get him back to the Starliner.
Yeah, he knew Adric from before.
Right, because Adric's a star pupil.
Maybe he gave him the star.
Says, "Adric," and he's like, "Adric, no, we have to get back." Adric runs away, and Adric gets to the edge of the swamp. Adric gets stuck, hits his head. Decider Drath picks up Adric. Right, Adric's okay. Adric runs between his legs, runs around him. Decider Drath tries to grab Adric. Adric wriggles away. Decider Drath falls backwards into the swamp and hits his head. End of the episode.
Yeah, and this confusion, Keeper of the Files, Decider Drath is the only guy that gets to read all the secret
System
files.
files.
System files, that's right.
Yeah.
So he knows the early signs of the oncoming Mistfall.
Well, and he remembers it from being a boy.
Yeah. So he says, "Oh, this is Mistfall. Mistfall's head." But he's distracted by Adric stealing fruit, and he wants to, grab him,
Save Adric.
save him, and bring him aboard the Starliner because they're about to start another internment. So among that confusion, Draith doesn't really get to finish warning everyone that Mistfall is coming. So they have the two people that are swimming in the river, harvesting watermelons. They get
Yeah, and they had to be
trouble,
rescued.
so they had to pull him. So it's something. So the mist is referred to as non-toxic by the doctor, but
They all believe it's toxic.
there's something about the water that it still affects people though, because like
And the
Draith. Yeah, did he hit his head or was he? It looked like he passed out in the.
I think Adric hit his head, and I think Draith hit his head.
Yeah.
Briefly. Log or rock or something.
And then we see some creatures coming out of the Black Lagoon.
Yes, and
End of episode 1.
coming out of the swamp.
Yeah, the
but they
swamp
look like
people.
creatures from the Black Lagoon. Very, very much so.
And that
So,
was
end of episode 1.
the end of episode 1. So I was thinking, at the beginning of this episode, the doctor was talking about visiting Leela and her man. And he says,
Armand, or whatever his name is.
yeah, he says, I wonder how they're getting along now. And I thought, if you can travel through time, anywhere in the past and in the future, what dictates what is now? So the doctor, he goes back to visit them, but he could go back to visit Leela at any point in her lifespan. Like, when he says, I wonder how they're doing now, is there like a clock that Time Lords follow of what is the current position on the timeline?
You would assume that they mean now would mean more or less in his timeline. So if he lived 30 years, how are they doing now would be 30 years from when he saw them.
So he's been traveling more location than he has been time traveling per se.
We don't know how he's keeping track of time.
Okay, that was my question.
We don't know what the clocks on the TARDIS say, you know?
Because he said, I wonder how Leela and him are doing now, and then he could go back and visit him when she's 80, or he could go back and visit him like a month after he left her.
We see the actress who played Leela again in the third party stuff.
Yeah?
Only in the third party stuff.
Oh.
Agreed. She was great. But she's still good in the third party stuff.
Oh, good.
What other questions do you have for the first episode?
For episode 1, that's about it for right now.
Okay.
Everything else was pretty straightforward. Where they're alluding to some mysteries, but a lot of those are explained later on in the serial.
Yeah. So quite literally, this is once again an incredibly straightforward serial. Lots of stuff does not need to be explained because it all happens. Episode 2, the monsters are coming out of the swamp. What's his name? Decider Drax?
Draith?
Draith?
There's Dexter.
Oh.
He's a scientist, though. He's
Right.
not a decider.
Draith gets pulled into the swamp out from the grasp of Adric, and he says, "Tell Dexter, we've come full circle." And that's his last words.
They
He
said it.
sinks in the swamp.
He said the name of the cereal
Yeah, full circle.
in the cereal.
Yep. Well, I mean, it happens.
Meta. Yeah, like
Yeah.
in movies when they say the name of the movie.
Yeah.
When what's his face is like, it's time to die hard or live free.
Live free or die hard.
Does he actually say that? I was making
Alright. So Adric's trying and he's running and he's trying to get back to the ship to warn Dexter, and he sees the TARDIS, the police box in the middle of this jungle swamp area. He runs into it. No. The doctor's banging trying to fix the TARDIS. And K-9's kind of messed up. He's trying to fix TARDIS. And Romana's like, wait, did I hear something? I was like, of course, I'm banging on the TARDIS. You heard something.
Yeah.
And there's like all sorts of equipment pieces around the console. And she goes, no, I heard something. And she opens the door and Adric runs in and says, almost like I'm warning them. And then he faints and then passes out. And Romana has to pick him up. They lay him on a settee.
Yeah. They patch up his knee. I thought they just took him to her bedroom when they patched up his knee.
No, he's on a
Like a fainting sofa.
yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm drunk. I'm trying to think of the name of that. We have one in the library.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was a fainting sofa. A reading couch?
No. It's a
As the one side.
oh yeah. I'm trying to think of it. Anyway, he is passed out. He's recovering.
They patch up his knee. He regains consciousness.
Briefly, and he says, "I'm trying to warn them. I'm trying to warn them. We've come full circle."
Mm-hmm.
And what's the other part?
I don't remember him saying anything else.
Mm.
But at some point, the doctor and K-9 goes outside. They notice all this
Right.
smoke from the mist. And he goes, "Oh, it's mist." And then K-9 says, "Non-toxic."
Right. So the doctor's like, "Okay, good." And you see all the creature from the Black Lagoons coming out. And to be fair, it's not like two coming out of the swamp, and they keep showing them in different
They have,
things.
like,
It's like they've got like
7
9 guys in these suits coming out, which is
costumes.
good for them.
Yeah.
And the doctor's like, "Okay, follow them, see where they go, K9." Kind of like, okay.
And while K-9's following the swamp people, the doctor notices the Starliner, right? Getting all sealed up.
Well, he's trying to get to the Starliner to tell them about Adric and his warning. And he gets there, and in the meantime, one of the swamp creatures who came out of the swamp really late is kind of following him. The doctor tries to confront him, says, "Hi," and the swamp creature runs away. He's like, "Okay." So Dark is swamp line, the steam liner, Starliner, and the door's been closed already. And when the door's closed,
it's sealed. You're not supposed to open it.
Yeah, Decider, what's his name? Drath.
Drath is now dead.
Well, Drath was outside.
Oh,
so he was the first Decider.
Yes.
So the second Decider, the third Decider, like, Third Decider's like, if he doesn't show up, you second Decider, what's his name?
The with the white hair.
No, not the white hair.
It passed to from Drath. It went to Nefred.
Right. You, Nefred, will be first Decider.
Yeah, and they're also.
And he was like, I will be second Decider. So we need a third Decider. And they were looking at Logan. Logan was a super respected member of the community, which is how they choose these things. And okay, so the second Decider is like, he is respected, the most respected man in the community, next to you, Nefred. And Nefred goes, no, next to no one. So kudos to Nefred for acknowledging that he's not the most respected in the community, and that this guy, Logan, is. Logan's word after his daughter.
Logan's the father of Kiara, who's one of the Lost Boy kids rebelling.
Outers or whatever.
So he's worried about his daughter because they're sealing up the Starliner and they're taking a roll call, and he goes, "Where's my daughter? Where's my daughter?" As he runs in, and then they seal up the door. He's like, "No, my daughter's still out there." And they're like, "Logan, we want to promote you to a Decider, and we have to think of what's best for the people." And he kind of puts his loyalty job in front of his family. He goes, it's for the best of the community.
Puts everything aside.
He says, "I understand. Yeah, we can't reopen the door after it's been sealed."
He accepts all the facts as he knows them.
So he gives up his daughter as dead.
Yeah.
Because they think the Mistfall is toxic, and they promote him to the third Decider. Which means Nefred is now the first Decider after Drake's death, which means he gets to read all the files.
System files.
System files.
he reads them and he's like
Deeply disturbed.
Yes, he's like, oh, such secrets. These are such secrets. Oh,
I always imagine that's what happens to the president. Like, all right, we got to tell you what we have in Area 52 over here, and he's like, oh man.
here's Area 51. Here's who killed JFK.
Yeah.
Here's all this stuff. Yeah.
Here's the aliens that we've been
Yeah.
hiding. It's just like, oh man.
Did I need to know this?
Yeah.
Yes, you're the president. I don't want to know this. Okay.
Wasn't that the opening scene to like Independence Day? He gets elected president, and then he gets to see the aliens.
Well, not the opening scene. It's well into the movie, but yeah, it does have.
Like, now you're the president. Here's everything we've been hiding.
No,
He's
no,
like,
not that he's the president. It's like once the aliens attack, and they were like, he's like, what do you think? They
yeah, like the
Area
president
51.
wasn't
Do you think they spent all this money on a hammer? And he goes, and the president's like, no, that's false. And the one guy goes, that's not necessarily true. And they tell him finally, yeah, but yeah.
So we have that same sort of dynamic as when Drath dies and Nefred becomes the first decider. He now gets access to the system files and the forbidden knowledge that no one else is allowed to know.
And he's not happy about it.
He's like, do you know what's in these files? And the other decider's like, no, it's just you. Only you get to read those.
Okay, so anyway, in the meantime, the doctor is trying to make his way to the ship, to the Starliner, and he gets there, but it's already closed up.
Yes.
And first he rings the doorbell and tries to knock on the door. There's actually a doorbell. Tries on the
Irresponsible
door, yeah.
intercom that no one's answering.
And then he uses a sonic screwdriver to get in. And it opens up, he goes in, and for some unknown reason, he leaves the door open.
Yeah, he's just looking around. No one's really by the entrance.
And he leaves the door open.
He just walks in, doesn't shut the door behind him.
And there's a random baby marsh creature that follows him in and takes the knife that he had shoved into the watermelon.
Yes. Yeah, so he's walking around with the knife. I'm assuming the doctor left the door open because he knew the mistfall was non-toxic because K9 told him after analyzing it.
But he goes back and he shuts the door.
Later on, once he finds out that the swamp guy snuck in.
Well,
at first I think he assumes that all these people also know that the mistfall is non-toxic. But they don't. They think it's very
you don't know.
Yeah. I guess he didn't know it was completely sealed up protocol, so he just
Right, but
he walks in. Yeah.
But he allows a swamp creature in, and then he seals the door.
Yes.
Which is really weird.
Once he noticed, I agree.
Yeah, it's really
He could have just closed the door behind him.
So, plot device happens. Swamp creature gets into the starship with the doctor in the starship. Yeah. And Deus Machina. Yeah. So anyway, the doctor runs around trying to hide himself, but also trying to find people. The swamp creature's running around, trying to hide, but also trying to find people.
Then we had K9 outside too, running around following the swamp people that the doctor told him.
Yes, to the cave. In the meantime, the TARDIS gets picked up and moved to the cave by the swamp people.
That's once Romana's inside of it with the Lost Boys. Because so the Mistfall's coming. The Lost Boys, they're sealed out of the Starliner. They're looking for shelter now. And
Adric shows up and says, "Oh, I've got a homing beacon of the TARDIS," and they're like, "Ooh, there's a ship we can get into, and we'll take over." And they go there with the homing beacon that Romana gave them. Romana gave Adric, and they try to take over, and they hold Romana by knife point. And then there's a tussle because Adric doesn't want to hurt Romana, be held by knife point. And then the knife is knocked to the ground. Romana picks it up, holds Tyson or whatever. Tylos at knife point with his own knife, and then she pulls it back, puts it in her palm. The hand says, "Your knife." At which point they start to respect and admire her because she's willing to give up.
So we're not enemies here.
Right, we're not enemies, we're friends, which is a great trope. I've seen it in other things, but this is one of the first times it happens.
I don't think I'd have the same reaction if someone walked in and said, "We're taking your ship."
Well, yeah, maybe. But they're
like,
kids.
Calm
They're
down.
freaking kids, you know?
Here's your knife. Let's talk about this. They talk about how the mist falls coming, and she goes, "Well, that's non-toxic." And they're like, "What? No, it's going to kill everybody." She says, "No, let's open up the door if you don't believe me." So they poke their head out the door, and K9 comes out.
Wait.
Because K9 was following the swamp people.
But you forget the part where they were being moved.
Right, yeah. So
moved by the cave people.
Mm-hmm. That was the first thing you... So they're all in the TARDIS and taking over the TARDIS. And then it starts shaking. They're like, "What's happening?" And then she goes, "I don't know. I didn't press anything." And it's shaking is because the swamp people picked up the TARDIS and they're taking it back to their cave. Or the cave that the Lost Boys were using.
Well, and now, amazingly, they start believing in the mist. And they start believing in the swamp people. And they start quoting the myths.
Mm-hmm.
There are myths about the swamp. The giants will come out from the swamp and they will do things and yada yada yada.
Because they're like, "Oh, we don't believe that," and then they show
up.
Suddenly,
I don't believe in angels. Ooh, I see an angel. Suddenly, I believe in all the things I know. You know, that kind of thing. Anyway, so they're like, "Okay, let's check outside."
Yeah.
And they look outside, and there's a bunch of the marsh people.
Yeah.
And they close the door, put their heads back in.
Well, K9 shows up.
Yeah, K9 shows up, and then all the marsh people there. And K9 shows up, and then one of the marsh people takes a big branch club and just knocks K9's head off.
Decapitates him.
Yeah.
End of episode.
No, that's not the end of the episode.
Oh, the spider bite scene.
Yeah, it's not the end of the episode, but K9's decapitated, knocked out. It's like the...
Romana sees this, right? She's not happy about K9 getting...
This is like the second or third episode. K9's completely taken out of action.
So K9...
How many episodes?
It's a thing that the writers are doing because K9 is this computer machine, super intelligent, can analyze things, shoots lasers out of his face. He's just this, Swiss Army knife that kind of messes up tense moments and plot design. So they have to kind of like take him out of episodes so we can have tension and consequences.
Yeah, but not this bad. I mean, he's decapitated.
Well, he goes into the water, he explodes. They have to, they can't always just leave him on the TARDIS just to leave him there. He has to be out of
but this was extreme. This was extreme.
K9 is Batman's belt, right? That has answers to everything. And the writers, they keep having to, come up with tension and a reason why Batman loses his belt. So they don't have K9's gadget. So he gets decapitated.
It's pretty extreme. Anyway, so the Doctor is caught in the Starliner, along with the baby Marshman. Yes.
He looks exactly like the rest of the Marshmen. I don't know how you can tell.
He's a baby. He's a baby when he came out of the swamp last or something. Whatever. And Doctor, what's his name?
The scientist? Yeah,
Dexter. He's like, "Oh, I must examine this. I must dissect it. I must cut up."
Yes.
And the Doctor's like, "Don't. We will look at this." And anyway, so the Doctor is going because the Marshman's under anesthetic. Doctor's like, "Don't do this. I must look at things." And he runs off. And Romana and the kids finally come out of the TARDIS, and they're looking at the area in the cave, and there's all the fruits, the lake fruits.
Watermelon.
Yeah, watermelons.
The melons.
And they start breaking open, and there's a bunch of spiders.
Yes.
And they...
Very creepy.
Bunch of spiders, and the kids are like, "Ah!"
not like the Never Seen Spiders who were back in the TARDIS. Adric is the last one in.
To be fair, they're large spiders.
Right. Not like Planet of the Spiders large, but...
Not that big, but Cybermat-sized spiders. With glowing eyes and big tokuses. That's always the worst part of the spider, is just the little grape on the end. It's so gross.
So the kids run back in the TARDIS, and Adric runs in, right as the doors are closed. He's like, what are you doing? Because Tullus, or whatever his name is? Tullus had actually closed the doors.
Yeah.
And he's like, wait, Romana's still out there.
They're very used to Starliner type procedures when
Yeah.
you go into lockdown.
Oh, run away. Adric's trying to click the right lever to open the doors to get Romana in. He clicks the lever that sets the TARDIS going. Woof, woof, woof. And Romana's like, runs up, the TARDIS is gone.
Yeah, she goes, they're only spiders where you guys run. And she tells her they close the door behind her. She goes, wait, I'm spider. And it goes away.
And she runs up, the TARDIS is gone, she goes off, and she's trying to get away, and a spider gets on her face and bites her, and she collapses. End of episode 2.
End of episode 2.
Right.
So episode 2...
You continue, I'm going to use the rest.
What's the significance of the melons, right? Because I'm imagining, they're going into their 10-year internment. Okay, you can put it.
I don't know, I'm going to answer your question.
Okay.
Okay, so apparently it's all a big ass full circle.
Right, so they're gathering these
melons that they live on
for the 10-year.
Okay, spoilers. The melons they live on in this one stage of life also are for the breeding grounds for this other stage of their life.
Yeah, once the Mistlands come. So I was thinking, why are they gathering watermelons for a 10-year internment? They're not going to last 10 years. And they cut them open, he has the tweezers, and they're looking at the seeds. I'm like, oh, so they must grow their own melons on the ship. So they're harvesting for food and the seeds. But apparently once the Mistland comes, the Mistfall, it mutates it, and they turn into spider eggs.
So many spiders.
So I guess so... That's why they need the harvest on before the Mistland. You can go ahead.
Episode 3. I'll be back.
So Romana gets bit by the spider and she falls unconscious. Meanwhile, we see that the TARDIS travels to its set coordinates, which is actually inside of the Starliner. So it's a short-range terrestrial travel. They're not traveling in time in the TARDIS, just in space, and they travel into the Starliner. Meanwhile, the Doctor is having conversations with Dexter. They're arguing about science and what's humane about, researching on the Marshman. He's like, well, he's just a child. And he goes, okay, yeah, well, he's not really a useful specimen. And the Doctor's like, I disagree. And he's like, well, I can give you a second opinion. I'm a doctor. I know all about this science stuff. So they're like, well, you broke into our spaceship, but yeah, we'll let you look at this swamp creature thing and we'll get your opinion on it. Sure, why not? So he goes in and he goes, yeah, it's just a young swamp creature, very intelligent and adaptive. And they're like, we just don't really know anything about them. It talks about them in the files, but we're not allowed to read the files, so we have to, do research and projects on them ourselves. So we can find out broader information. The Doctor's like, you have this information in the files, but you're not allowed to read those, so you're finding out for yourself. And he's like, I don't really get this whole stuff. Once they examine the swamp creatures, he goes back to the Deciders. He's talking to the newest Decider, Logan. And Logan's like, okay, I can respect an outside opinion. And he's like, yeah, you fear these things because they're alien creatures to you, but I'm going to go into you as well. And you don't have to fear me. I'm as docile as these swamp creatures. And so Logan's like, all right, I'd like to pick your brain, get your opinion on some things. And he takes him to the side and he goes, listen, Doctor, how about I scratch your back, you scratch mine? You broke into our Starliner, which is supposed to be sealed, so they want to, you're not allowed to leave. But I can get you out. You have to promise me You'll look for my daughter though when you're out there, because the doctor tells him, the mist fall is non-toxic, and everyone thought that it was toxic. So it's like, well, how do you know? He's like, oh, I was out in the mist, I'm fine. So Logan goes, all right, I'm not allowed to leave, but if I can get you out, you can look for my daughter. So they go back to the front door of the Starliner right when the TARDIS appears. And Logan's like, what is that thing? And the doctor goes, oh, that's my ship I was about to go look for. He goes, it's my companion, Romana. And the doors open, and Romana doesn't come out. It's Kiara, who's Logan's daughter. And he goes, my daughter! and the doctor's like, I have no idea who that is. But there's also Romana in here. And then out comes, Varsh and Tylos and Adric, and he's like, where's Romana? and Logan's like, well, I'm happy, I got my daughter back. And then the doctor's like, what? Romana's missing. And then Adric fills him in on what happened to Romana with the spider situation. So we're in the Starliner. They just cut a deal with Logan to let the doctor out of the Starliner so he could find Logan's daughter.
And then the TARDIS shows up.
It's the clown car, and everyone but Romana comes out.
He's like, hey, Romana. Out comes the one guy. Hey, Romana. Out comes another guy. Hey, Romana. Out comes... No, the daughter comes first.
Yeah, Kiara.
Kiara.
Logan's daughter, and he goes, oh,
and then Tylon, or whatever his name is.
Yeah, Tylos and Varsh.
And then Varsh. And then finally Adric, yeah.
And the doctor goes, where's Romana? And Adric explains what happened to Romana with the spiders.
She's in the cave. The doctor goes in with Adric, and the doctor's like, well, it's really difficult to do this kind of jump, especially short term, especially a reverse jump. But they do it
because they cross their fingers.
And he says, Adric, cross your fingers. And Adric goes like this. And the doctor says, don't like that. And Adric goes. And he said, no, like this.
Did you notice he still did it wrong? The doctor says, do it like this, and he does it like...
yeah, something like that, yeah. So, anyway, they fly back, they manage to go back on the short hop, and they manage to get Romana. Unfortunately, Romana's in some sort of trance state, and the doctor goes like, hello, Romana, are you okay? She's like, yeah. He's like, are you good? She's like, yeah. He's like, she good to travel? She's like, yeah. And she goes, who are you? So Romana's not Romana at the moment, unfortunately. So the doctor takes Romana back to the TARDIS. He's trying to heal her, trying to administer to her. Adric's trying the same. And they go back to the front lobby of the Starliner. The doctor comes out. The doctor's trying to stop them from experimenting on the Marshman they found, who had followed the doctor in. And the doctor's trying to figure everything out. Anyway, lots of running around, lots of things are here, lots of you have no right to do this. And essentially, the people in the Starliner have no idea of their science and everything. They have no recorded history of this. And the doctor finally figures out that Starliner could leave whenever they want. All their maintenance is for nothing. But they don't know how to fly the Starliner because they build the Starliner, but they are actually of this planet, so no one knows how to pilot the thing. They were supposed to be of this other planet, and they crashed here, but they're not. The doctor figures out that they are the evolution of the Marshmen, and the Marshmen don't like them because they are 40,000 generations on in evolution. And the people in the Starliner actually evolved from the Marshmen. So the doctor figures this out. He doesn't want them to experiment on the Marshmen they captured.
They do anyway. The scientist dies. The Marshman dies. Doctor looks at the slides, figures all this out. He has a slide of a bat. He has a slide of a Marshman. He has a slide of Dexter, and he figures out they're the same DNA because they are evolved from each other. So, and Doctor's like, well, okay. We have to do these things. In the meantime, Romana, who's been taken over with these really cool special effects, she's letting the Marshmen into the ship by opening up the emergency hatches. When the Starliner lands, she opens up all the emergency hatches, lets the Marshmen in the ship. End of episode 3.
Yes. You talk about her new rebellious face tattoos.
Oh yeah, little deals and on her arms.
Yeah, just to make her parents mad.
Just make her parents mad.
My mom hates those. The back of your hand tattoos. She'll come over and she'll be like, I was at the grocery store and this teenager had a spider web on one hand and a skull on the other hand. I'm like, okay, Mom. She's like, that's so terrible. Why would anyone want that on their hands?
So it could be buried in a Jewish cemetery, I guess?
They don't bury people in Jewish cemeteries if they have tattoos?
Correct. Huh? Which is why the tattoos in the Holocaust were doubly problematic. Because they signified them as just numbers, and it meant the Jews can be buried in a Jewish cemetery.
I can't be buried in a Jewish cemetery.
You have a tattoo?
I do. Do you?
No.
Oh. Do you want to be buried in a Jewish cemetery?
Not necessarily.
Oh, let's go get a tattoo for you.
Eventually.
Yeah.
I will eventually.
Dude, what do you want a tattoo of?
A fleur-de-lis.
Oh, there you go. That's a good one.
I've been thinking about that tattoo for 30 years.
Where are you?
Right here.
Right there. On the arm?
Right here. On the, right
that's the classic.
My right arm, not your left. My right.
Oh, okay. Right.
A fleur-de-lis.
Yeah. You got a lot more real estate right here now. You ever see
I'm not getting it on my forehead.
No, you ever see those head tattoos? People shave their heads to get a spider web up there. You can put a big
Have you seen the movie Yellowbeard?
Yellowbeard? No. I haven't even heard of
it. They tattoo Okay, so several of the Monty Python members.
Is he a pirate?
Yes,
Yellowbeard.
He's a pirate, Yellowbeard. And they tattoo a map to the pirate treasure on the kid's head.
Here you go.
And then, he grows up and he has hair.
They're navigating.
They had to shave his head to get a tattoo.
It's
just it's a fun bad movie.
Yeah.
It's a really good bad movie.
Mm-hmm. That's the thing is you can shave your beard, get a tattoo, and then you regrow your beard out, and no one will know.
Have you seen my beard? I'm not shaving my beard.
You do clean shaves every once in
a while.
Yeah. So next time you get a shave, get a tattoo on your cheek, and then grow your beard out. No one will be the wiser.
No, it'd be right here on my arm.
Well, the first one, yeah.
The first one.
Yeah, no one has just one tattoo.
Some people have had only one.
So you can't just have one tattoo after you have a tattoo.
My dad only had one tattoo.
I only have one tattoo, but you can't just get one tattoo. It's an addiction.
Okay, episode 4.
Episode 4, last episode.
Wait, do you have any questions about episode 3?
Episode 3. I did have a question.
Or episode 2. I think we kind of skipped that.
We talked about the fruit in episode 2. Mm-hmm. Episode 3, we talked about the episode 4. Oh, episode 3 questions. Romana was in a comana. This is what I wrote down. So they're talking about the extremely rare chance that the TARDIS can make a remote jump, which it did. It's even more rare that it can make a reverse remote jump, which it did. And it does a reverse remote jump where it goes back to the Starliner. So, like, statistically, plot-wise, it's like a statistically
It's less
small
remote.
possibility.
It's less remote in the E-space because it's smaller space.
I guess so. You think E-space has to do with the TARDIS behavior?
Yes, it's a smaller space.
Because K9 said it's not performing perfectly. It's
No,
functioning normally.
Yeah, I love that.
And normally
I
it's
so love that.
not great at making those remote jumps.
So
but-
performing perfectly. No, I said performing normally.
So E-space has to do with the TARDIS. Do you think is why the TARDIS is behaving properly, opposed to how it normally acts? Did you talk about how no one knows how to pilot in episode 3?
Briefly, yes.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's all the questions I had.
Alright, service of 4.
Episode 4, the first thing I wrote down is Romana always looks so Christmassy. She's wearing the green boots and the red velvet dress and the white. That was very festive looking. So she lets in the swamp people because she's under... It never really explains what happened, but she gets bit by this spider and for some reason that turns her into a swamp person?
Yeah.
Control of what? Of the spider? Or the swamp people?
It's never explained.
I feel like-
literally never explained.
I feel it feels like there should be a villain, and we just never met him in this episode. Like we don't know who's mind controlling. I feel like there's someone behind the curtains, like doing some stuff, and we just
some intelligence, not
Yeah.
the great intelligence, but some intelligence.
like the spiders and.
Yeah.
It's like,
Anyway,
why would a spider bite Romana, mind control her to open the door to the Starliner to let the swamp people in? It's like it doesn't make any sense to me.
so the swamp people get in. Hatch 1, Hatch 2, emergency hatches.
Mm-hmm.
And then they threaten all the people inside. Long story short, the deciders don't decide anything because they're paralyzed by decision.
Procrastination, yeah. It's
Right.
kind of
Procrastination. They're like whatever, and decider, what's his name? The third one, Dyson.
Dexter was the scientist.
No. The third.
Nefred?
Huh?
Decider Nefred?
No, the third one.
Logan?
Yeah,
Oh,
Logan.
okay. Decider Logan.
He's like,
The dad.
we should do this. We should do stuff, and they're like, no, we have to wait. We have to decide. Anything we do would be just like they're gonna adapt anyway, and he wants to make actual decisions.
Okay. There, you get it's very political in the sense that you get the feeling that these people who have been deciders, they're used to the rigmarole and the red tape. And Logan, he's a brand new decider, so he comes in, he's like, we should take action. And he's like, no, that's not how we do stuff around here. And he's like, but it would be the right thing to do. Because, and what's his name, Nefred goes, I read the files, they adapt very quickly. Our best bet's just like, not do anything. So it's just this paralyzing red tape that you get in sort of leadership structures.
Yeah. So they do nothing.
And then the swamp people come in and they start ripping up the files and throwing people around.
Yeah, and
Some
the
people
main
bump their
decider gets injured, and they drag him away. And in the meantime, Decider Logan said, "We need to shut off this bulkhead and this bulkhead."
Mm-hmm.
They were seriously just dithering on all that, and they didn't do it. So they drag him away,
Mm-hmm.
and his last words were like, "Find the doctor. Find the doctor. He'll help you." And he dies. First Decider dies.
Yes. Nefred. So now it's just Logan and Gareth, I think.
And Gareth is weak as hell.
The white-haired guy.
Yeah,
He's very
weak.
much a take a back seat, and it's like, oh, you just tell me what you want me to do. I can make decisions for myself, even though he's a decider.
So to Logan. Logan's like, okay,
He immediately
said, we have to
defaults.
find the doctor.
Yeah.
We'll find the doctor. He told us what to do, was find her.
So,
They run off to find the doctor.
yeah.
And all these swamp people are in the ship.
Starliner wreaking havoc.
Right, they're going around the swamp people, and they're being staved off by oxygen tanks.
Yeah, they discover that they're great at adapting, but if the environment changes too quickly, they can't adapt fast enough.
Mm-hmm.
So they start flooding the room with these oxygen canisters because the increase of oxygen, they can't adapt to it quickly enough, so it scares them away. So they're running around with these oxygen tanks as like their only self-defense weapons. I guess they don't have any sort of guns or... They have knives, but they don't use those at all.
Right, and the oxygen tanks work, and Adric and his brother, what's his brother's name?
Tylos?
Right, and they're keeping these things at bay.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually, the oxygen tanks run out.
Yes.
Tells Adric to run. Adric runs.
Mm-hmm.
And the deciders are already gone to the science lab, and Telos unfortunately succumbs.
We're treated to this horrifying scene where he's trying to shut the door, and there's about a foot left from the floor, and they grab his ankle and pull him under.
Yeah.
It's
And Adric's there trying to hold
a rough
him.
scene, yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a flashback to Adric trying to pull Draith out of the swamp, and he gets pulled in by the... So Adric is just getting really dramatized. Like, first he sees the village elder get pulled into the swamp, and he's not strong enough to save him, and then the same thing happens to his brother.
Yeah.
Very, I guess he's building character. Dramatized is what I would say.
Anyway, so they managed to get the Marshmen back using the oxygen canisters.
Yeah, Edric comes back with a new, fresh oxygen supply canister as his brother's getting dragged to the door.
Anyway, the Dr. Romana are like, okay, we're good. Romana's finally good. They cure her, they fix her, she's good.
Yeah.
And they go, and the people of this planet are like, Doctor, you can help us pilot this ship to our new planet. And it's like, well, look, here, you have to do this in this order, and you can pilot it.
Yeah, he's like, turn on these 4 thrusters, and then hit
5 thrusters.
5 thrusters, and then hit that green button to take off.
Right.
They're like, you have to teach us. And he's like, well, once you hit the green button, the manual covers the rest. That was the only part you're missing.
The Doctor runs off, Romana runs off. Adric, in the meantime, had stowed upon the TARDIS.
He snuck in and he left on the
He left the
visual circuit.
visual octalizer or whatever, visual circuit. And he stowed aboard upon the TARDIS. And the Doctor and Romana are taking off, and they notice that the finally, the ship lighter is taking off.
Yeah.
Because finally, the people who are responsible are actually pushing the green button and taking off.
Yeah, Logan is kind of butting heads with Nefrid at first, or not Nefrid, but Gareth at first.
Gareth,
Gareth goes, this is a
Nefrid's
heavy
dead.
decision, it takes time to think about. And he's like, what's there to think about? We've been here for 44,000 generations. like it's time for us to live up to our name and make a decision. And then you see that they're actually taking off to go to Pterodon, which was apparently their home planet that they've never actually been
not
to.
their home planet.
Yeah,
Because apparently they were descendants of the
swamp people.
spiders and the swamp people on this planet all the entire time. That's the whole point for a full circle.
Yeah, they're just getting ready for this journey over and over again that they'll never depart on. And that's their government structure. And they finally broke the circuit, and they're taking off. They're headed towards a bright new future. Meanwhile, Romana and the Doctor are back in the TARDIS, and the Doctor says they asked me to stay and be a decider, and I decided not to.
Third decider.
A third decider. I decided not to. And then he goes, "Oh look at this thing. Audric left us a gift. It's a little circuit visualizer. It works."
And
we
stay
can,
on TARDIS.
They now have a functioning scanner that works in exospace. However, they're still stuck in exospace until they can find another extremely rare space-time event, wormhole, like the one that put them into exospace.
Right.
So that's where we're going to be for the next couple of serials. Next serial is State of Decay.
Correct. And then Warriors Gate. And that's the end of these Space shows. But seriously, alright, so the things about this are that
You got your neighbor's dogs barking?
yeah, you hear them?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, anyway, so there's the East Space trilogy, and there's Romana, there's Adric, and there's the Doctor, and it's just this a whole encompassing thing within East Space, and it's just really, really, really freaky cool.
Yeah, it's a nice little story arc that we're going on, and I'm excited for the next couple of serials. It's very engaging.
Mm-hmm.
I like Audric's character. Adric. I said Audric. Adric apparently is a new companion because I was wondering because I saw him sneak on and it never showed him sneaking off. I'm like, is he a new companion? So apparently he is. Which is, I mean, it's a good thing I liked him because he's going to be sticking around for
He'll be there for a while.
For a while. Is he a long-term companion? He's not like
relatively long term.
Katarina or whatever. Katrina.
No, it's not Katarina. Go on.
It's just there for like 2 episodes.
Yeah. 2, 3 episodes.
It's like the last episode of this serial and the first episode of that one.
No. Adric's there for a while.
So you're talking about how this, you felt like they're in a larger than normal amount of plot holes in this serial. Is there anything specifically that stuck out to you that was just like something that you couldn't suspend your disbelief that really just kind of stuck out as like, why did they decide to do it that way? It's like, that doesn't make any sense. You're talking about the plot holes.
Yeah.
Mine is the spiders and like the mind control thing, and there wasn't I didn't really get that part. That was the plot hole for me. Is it felt like we're being guided along plot wise, but there's no story reason for Romana to have been mind controlled by the spider and to open the doors to let the swamp people in. It just doesn't really make any sense to me.
Yeah, a lot of that actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's still a very fun serial, but a little wonky. You have to definitely suspend your disbelief to be immersed into this serial, because there's a few moments where you're like, what? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Correct.
But it's still fun. You liked it?
I liked it. Yeah. I do enjoy it. And we'll have this one and 2 more.
2 more in East Space trilogy. Next
East Space, yeah. Next is State of Decay.
State of Decay, like the video game series.
And after that, the Warriors Gate.
Warriors Gate, that sounds like a good one. A lot of action.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, our death count. We had several.
How was our death count?
It wasn't too bad, actually, but it caught up there at the end. We had like 1 death, and then 1 death, and then like 4 deaths. So we ended up with 5 people and 1 swamp person is what I got as a total death tally. Not incredibly violent.
Yeah, not bad at all.
Not violent in terms of death count, but very violent in terms of people being drugged under doors or into swamps by swamp people.
Oh, wow.
Those were scary scenes. It's like, tell Exeter that we've come full circle, and he gets dragged into the swamp.
I mean, not bad.
Just imagine Adric, though, seeing that happen to your village elder, and then his own brother, like the amount of trauma that he's receiving from that. I think he's going to be messed up.
Probably. Well, he's with the doctor for a while.
But overall, very fun cereal. I enjoyed it. You enjoyed it. Any other thoughts?
No.
Yeah, that's all the questions I have. So thank you guys for joining us once again for the Drunk Doctor Who podcast episode 112. We'll see you next week for episode 113 and State of Decay, right?
Yep, State of Decay.
Stay tuned. We'll see.
Hey. We'll see you next
Sticking
week.
around.
State of Decay.
What's our outro?
Boom.